Okay, let's roll right into our post race for today's 55th annual Daytona 500. And what a great event it was out there today. And Mark Martin came in third. Mark drives the number 55. Aaron's Dream Machine Toyota for Michael Waltrip Racing. And Mark, I know you had a great effort out there today and certainly had a big time, but talk about your run out there today in Daytona.
Well, we told 50 Cent if we won the race, he'd have to change his name to 55 cents for one day. And I was trying hard to get the name changed for a day. Just really, really can't believe that these guys let me drive their car. It was such a fast car. And, you know, and the guys just, they worked so hard on it. And I tore so much up earlier in the week, and they just keep digging. They you know, Rodney Childers called a great race, really smart race, and what we really wanted to do is be in the middle of it with 2 laps to go, and there we were.
That's cool. Thank you, Mark. Our race runner-up is Dale Earnhardt Jr. He drives the number 88. National Guard Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. And Dale, you really made a good move there on that last white flag lap. And we're coming on strong. Talk about the performance today of the 88 team.
Yeah, I couldn't have really done much without Mark here helping me at the end. I was hoping he was thinking what I was thinking as we come off of turn 2 on that last lap. I felt like we needed to make the move a little earlier than off of 4. And I kept backing up, trying not to let guys get to racing behind us too much. If somebody ducked out of line a couple rows behind Mark, I was going to have a gap so I can take off, and me and Mark could take off and not get hung up with them guys back there. So once we come off of 2, just mashed the gas and got a run on Danica and side drafted a little bit. I don't know why them guys didn't pull down in front of me besides Jimmy, but we got through 3 and 4 with a pretty good run. Once we come to turn 4, we kind of run out of steam and just didn't have enough to get a run on Jimmy. But real happy with the way the car run all day. You know, you couldn't pass much, but when I was able to really see what my car could do, it was plenty capable of winning the race. And the guys did a good job all winter trying to prepare for running well, and we got 1-2 out of our shop. So real happy with Hendrick and all the effort.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Dale. We'll take questions now. We'll take a few down here and go upstairs. Let's start in the back with George Diaz. Then we'll go to Dave, Al.
Just one thing. Will somebody make sure I get a printed finish?
Absolutely.
Thanks. I'll forget
it. Go ahead.
Yeah, George Diaz with the Orlando Sentinel back here. This is for both Mark and Dale. Dale, you touched upon the fact that it was hard to pass. Can you please reflect on the performance of the new Gen 6 model, and was it frustrating, as it seemed, for us looking at it, that you weren't really able to pass that much?
One of the things that made it hard to pass was nobody wouldn't get organized on the bottom. I think you could, because there at the end, when they got a good line organized, it got to be pretty dangerous. The problem was that the car on the inside of the front line wasn't the fastest car. If you'd had the fastest car in the field on the inside, you'd have had a whale of a race there at the end. But the top groove was a preferred groove, and I don't think that had a lot to do with the Gen 6 as much as it's just everybody was flying. The cars were fast, and the cars seemed to like the momentum that you'd get off the corner.
Yeah, I got to agree with Mark. I thought the car put on a really good show all week. We had a really exciting shootout, and the 125s were pretty racy, and the car proved at the end of this Daytona 500 that it'll race well, and put on a good show. It's just that first 150 miles is just, if everybody commits to the top and there's not enough guys to organize on the bottom, you'll just go get freight trained. So there's too much risk. You work all day on track position because you got to be toward the front to have a shot at it. So you work all day on track position. You hate to give up any. And I saw guys like Gordon and a couple guys pull out and go to the back, and it's just too much of a risk. I was, if I could find a car with a gap in front of it and I had a run, I might be able to side draft and create a bigger gap and fill that hole, but you got to pass them one at a time and be real patient doing that. And I thought it was a great show. I really was happy. A couple of adjustments with this car. This track's going to age a little bit more. The tire will soon change as the track ages. It's going to turn into an even better race. So I think no adjustments needed.
Thank you, Dale. We're also joined now by Danica Patrick. She is the highest finishing Sunoco Rookie of the Year. She came in 8th today. And Danica, talk about your run out there today. You were always running up front. Congratulations. Talk about it.
Thanks. You know, it was a solid day.
Not working.
What's happening? That's off. That's on. Hello.
Here you go.
Go ahead.
Test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
You can share.
9,
Okay.
10.
Anyway, it was a steady day. You know, got off to a nice start. I wish I would have led at the very beginning. I thought I was going to, but I think that what that
4,
first
5, 6, 7.
practicing counting. Cool. So it was nice to lead at later on in the race, just to have done that, to lead laps, but it was steady. I mean, I spent most of the day half throttle running behind people. So when you get in that line, that nice outside line where it's just single file, I didn't feel like it was a wise idea to drop low and try and figure out how to pass. You were probably going to find yourself much further back. So I suppose that's the only downside to running in that front group all day, was that I never got any practice passing. I never tried really anything. The only thing we really did was on those starts, the inside line had a lot of momentum for the first couple of laps. So, that was kind of the most action that happened until the very end there. Once that inside line at the end of the race had dedicated followers, it was strong. But once Jimmy got in the outside line, I think it showed, that he was fast. And so congrats to Jimmy. It was nice to get a Chevy to win the race. Overall steady day for me. Nice day for GoDaddy. And the crew did a nice job in the pits. So really not, nothing super duper eventful.
We'll open it up for questions again. We'll start back over here. Mike Massaro. Get him a mic, please. And then we'll go to Jenna, Tom, and then we'll go press box.
Thank you, Andrew. A question for Dale and for Mark. Danica made more history today by becoming the first woman to lead a Daytona 500. Want to get your thoughts on that. What impressed you with the way she ran today, and what this means for the sport?
Well, she's going to make a lot of history all year long. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch her progress. I think she's done her best work in the Cup car myself. I think that for whatever reason she seems to get a lot more out of that car. Every time I've seen her in a pretty hectic situation, she always really remained calm. She's got a great level head. She's a racer. She knows what's coming. She's smart about her decisions. She knew what to do today as far as, track position and not taking risks, like she said. So I enjoy racing with her and look forward to more all year long. It's just going to be a lot of fun having her in the series.
It's great for the sport. I agree with everything that Dale said. She did an incredible job today. As well as an incredible job a number of times last year. And so there'll be more of that to come.
Let's go to Jenna.
And it'll be good for the sport.
And thank you, by the way. Those are all really nice things, and I appreciate that.
We'll go Jenna, Tom Jensen, press box. Go ahead, Jenna.
Jenna Fryer, AP. I have two questions. The first one's for Danica. Will you ultimately view this day as a success, or will you be kicking yourself over, woulda, coulda, because you were third with a lap to go?
I would imagine that pretty much anyone would kick themselves and say, what coulda, shoulda I done to give myself that opportunity to win. And I think that was, that's what I was feeling today, was a uncertainty as to how I was going to accomplish that. I mean, there was plenty of time while we were cruising along nose to tail to I came on my radio and I was talking to Tony and my spotter Brandon about, what do you see people doing, what's working, what's not. And I was thinking in the car, how am I going to do this? And it just, I didn't know what to do exactly. So I feel like, maybe that's just, my inexperience. Maybe that's me not thinking hard enough. I don't know, getting creative enough. I'm not sure, but I definitely was a little bit on
shape, and it's gonna, it's down here next to the beach. It'll wear out and age quite rapidly compared to Charlotte or some other tracks that have been repaved. And as the track changes, the tire will ultimately change and become, be able to wear, and you'll see guys moving around, different things happening. So I think it's a great way to start the season. The car's doing everything I think we hoped it would do, and I think it'll just get better. It's still a brand new car. We got a whole season and the future to improve it and learn how to make it tick. So looking forward to that.
Any comments, Mark?
I agree with Dale. I'm very pleased that, I had a sick feeling all day before, all morning since I got up this morning and last night about what happened yesterday at the end of the race with the fans, which is, something that we cannot have happen. It was just I was happy to see the drivers okay. It was sad to see some of our fans get injured, and I was happy today that we were able to race and not have a huge accident. So, that's how it plays out. Sometimes you have them and sometimes you don't. There was plenty of recipe to have a big one there at the end. We just didn't. And probably next time, they probably will in July, and I'll be on the couch. So that'll be good.
Let's go press box. Questions for Mark Martin, Dale Earnhardt Jr., or Danica Patrick. Go ahead.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. First for Dale. After finishing second, you had one of the best years ever in your career last year. How does this portend for the future?
Well, I think it's important to get a good start points-wise. The first 10 races are the most important of the season to put a good baseline, a good foundation of points together. If you get behind early, you seem like you're still chasing that chase spot at Richmond. So it's good to get a good start, get a couple points on some guys, and we're a good team. Hopefully we can get pressure on them and stay up in that top 5 in the points and win some races. Just want to try to win more races this year. That's really our focus.
Thank you. And for Danica, you had a great run going at Phoenix last year, right to the very end. After such a great run here, you got to be excited going to Phoenix.
Yeah, it was nice to run like we did at the end of the year last year with Texas and especially with Phoenix. So I feel like it will give us a good baseline idea of how we need to set the car up. But it is also a new car, so we'll have to adapt to that. And Tony and I are still figuring out, how we get the most out of me with new tires in a qualifying situation, things like that. So we still have a lot of stuff to work on. But it was nice to have that race in Phoenix at the end of last year. And I think that while it might not just be so much about Phoenix, I think it's about Tony Gibson and everybody that works around him.
Go ahead, press box.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. For Dale, following up on what Mark was talking about there, about that sick feeling that he had last night and this morning, you were on track yesterday, I think, during when that horrible wreck happened. How did you feel to be able to race today versus how you felt 24 hours ago after the nationwide race? And maybe not just how you felt personally, but maybe how the vibe overall was different in the garage today versus what it might have been last night.
Yeah, we were just all, I think, me personally, I was just really waiting to get the news on how everybody was, how the fans were overnight, just hoping that things were going to improve, and especially for the 2 critically injured. Just waiting on word on how everybody was, and not really ready to proceed until you had some confirmation that things were looking more positive. And there's so much going on at the pre-race and so many distractions. Once you got in the car and the race started, it felt like business as usual. But like Mark said, we'll be. I know there's a lot of people still recovering and may have a lot of recovery in the future. Hopefully, they're doing well today, and we welcome them back as soon as they get well. and hope that they will come back.
We'll take one more in the press box and then come back downstairs. Go ahead, press box.
Okay, Lewis Frank from Auto Week, both for Mark and Dale. You didn't have radio communication like you used to in the past. Wondering how you hooked up, and second, was there enough? Why couldn't you catch Jimmy if you were hooked up?
Oh, well, we did exactly what Dale said, where we thought and did what we thought would be right. We talked a little bit about, the spotters did have a discussion, before the restart. And obviously I knew Junior was, had a fast car and is one of the masters here, and certainly would, trust his judgment. And I was in a position where I needed to pass a bunch of cars in order to get in contention to win. So we did that. And if things would have got crazy enough, maybe we could have got the big trophy. So that's how it went.
Yeah, I mean, with this, with the car, I got the same equipment Jimmy does, so we were up against a pretty steep climb trying to get by him or get a run on him. Me and Mark, did a good job, I think, doing all we could from as far back as we were. I was surprised the guys up front didn't put together a better plan or lay back or do anything kind of to put themselves in a better position, but everybody's out there trying to do what they think they need to do. We just happen to make a good choice. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, let's come back downstairs. We'll go to Viv, Jeff Gluck, David Newton.
Viv Bernstein, New York Times. For Danica, sort of following up on Lee's question, when you look at what you accomplished here and what you did do at Phoenix and Texas, do you now reset your expectations for what you might be able to accomplish as a rookie this year?
No. I mean, I think that would be unwise to sort of start telling myself that top tens is where we need to be every weekend. I think that's setting up for failure. The list of drivers in the Cup Series is deep, and this is a unique track. These speedways are different and unique, and a lot about the car. I mean, you have to be smart enough to do the right thing at the right time, but it's very much about the car. So, I feel like I'm still sticking to, let's just see how these first 5 races go, where we go to a bunch of different kinds of tracks and see where we settle in, start to establish goals from there on out. But the only thing we can really go off of is at the end of last year and, kind of running solid inside of that top 20 and hopefully get inside the top 15. I think that's really all I can think right now. And that could change after five races. It might be worse. It might be much better. I don't know. But we're just going to kind of pick up where we left off.
Let's go Jeff Gluck, David Newton, Bob Pockris.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Danica, by the time you got to your car before the race, it seemed like the national anthem was starting and you had to hop in right away. I could be wrong, but was that at all difficult? I mean, the lack of time that you had to unwind from everything and then just get right in?
I feel like when there are pressure situations and tensions are high, I don't get too flustered, and I seem to be okay with them. So, I was walking while the invocation was going on, and by the time I got to the car, we did the anthem, and I mean there was a list of photos with people that we were meant to get, and I didn't do any. So I just got in the car. As soon as the anthem's done, I get in the car. Everything else has to take a back seat because that's what I'm there to do, is drive.
David Newton, Bob Pockris. Anyone else have questions for Mark Martin? If you have a question for Mark Martin, raise your hand. All right, we'll go to those probably next. Go ahead.
Yeah, David Newton, ESPN.com. Dale, you said out on pit road that you feel like with a few changes to the package, it could be really great racing. What sort of changes would you recommend?
Well, I think just watching, seeing how the track changes. Maybe, I had a really bad push in the duel. Just terrible, and I couldn't believe the right front tire lived as well as it did, and I was able to maintain with the pack, and and when the racetrack was a lot more worn out, that wouldn't have been. I would have probably blowed the tire out if I hadn't come into pits and fixed it. So just the tire is very good. Nothing, I don't want to give people the wrong impression, but as this track ages, they'll be able to tune the tire much like they are this coming up with Phoenix, and I think it'll challenge the cars and challenge the drivers a little bit. It's just a little easy to stay in the pack and I think it'll get harder as the surface gets slicker.
We'll go Bob Pockrass, Tom Bowles. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, this is for Danica. Is that
That's fine. Go ahead, and we'll end with Tom, and then we'll release Mark.
all right? Bob Pockrass, Sporting News. Danica, what was it like leading the field to the pole? Did you was there any time to just kind of like look around or kind of absorb the moment?
There was quite a few people out there when we walked out for intros. I thought that was a hefty amount of people. That was pretty cool. You definitely got the feeling like you were in a sea of people. So hopefully the fans enjoyed that. That's access to us that no other sport really gets that. I mean, the fans can really get to us, and I hope they appreciate that. So, and to be on the quote on the field, it's got that's a cool thing for the fans to be able to do. But I got a feeling there. Once you're out in the car, I mean, I've been in these situations before. And I felt really calm, like leading the field to the green. The front was the calmest place to be. So I thought that as anything would go, I'm sure there were people behind me that were more nervous because up front is nice on these speedways.
All right, let's go Tom Bowles, and then we'll release Mark.
Tom Bowles, Front Stretch Athlon. Mark, I know you're feeling really happy about today's finish, but is there another side to that, being this late in your career and coming so close to something that you've wanted for so long? And I also wondered, you've talked about not having this ride maybe for 2014, doing something different. Do you feel like you've run your last Daytona 500?
First of all, I feel extremely grateful for the opportunity. There are a number of drivers that didn't get to have a shot at the Daytona 500, and I was at least close enough to have an outside shot. So I feel extremely lucky for that opportunity. And I've told you guys over and over again, I'm not bitter about the things that I haven't accomplished. I'm pretty damn proud of the things I have, and that's how I feel about it.
Thank you, Mark.
And I'm definitely not going to talk about 2014 yet.
I hear you. Okay, we'll release Mark Martin right now. Go back to questions now. Looks like Greg has one, and then Brant.
You want to ask it? This is for Danica. Sorry.
It's okay.
GregEngelExaminer.com. Helmet. Thank you. Marco from Red Bull over here, the owner of Red Bull, has offered you, if you finish in the top 10 at the Daytona 500, he's offered you a chance to test a Formula One car. Is that something you'd ever be interested in, just as a test, maybe just as a demonstration, not anything serious?
I mean, I didn't hear about that. That's nice. I have been in that situation before where someone has offered for me to test the car. It was a long time ago, quite a few years ago, and I think it was maybe where did they test them? In South Africa or something in the winter. And anyway, for me, if I'm not serious about driving a Formula One car, I'm not a car geek. I don't feel like I have to drive a Formula One to make my life complete. So unless it was something that I was serious about doing, I have, my schedule is rather full anyway, and then it just opens you up for criticism. If it doesn't go well, then what are people going to say? That's something that I don't like to put myself in. So, but it's a very kind offer.
Let's go over to Brant. Go ahead, Brant.
For Danica, Brant James, ESPNW.com. Just like as you became the first female to lead laps at Indy, you did here. I know you don't like to think of your career in gender terms, but I was hoping you could describe, what that means to you.
It's just, honestly, when I say that I wanted to lead at some point, it was just because I was disappointed that I didn't do it off the bat like I thought I should have. So it didn't really have to do with being a girl and leading. I think a stat that I found more interesting was that only 13 people, including me now, have led Indy and Daytona. So I thought that was a much cooler stat for me. So I'm honored, but again, these are things that just happen along the way, and I hope to on the quest to be the best driver and to run up front and get to victory lane. These things happen, and I'm proud, but they're not the ultimate goal.
Let's go back to the press box for a question, then we'll come back to Holly Kane. Go ahead, press box.
Hi, Danica. Michael Vega, Boston Globe. Just curious, right before the start of the race, as you're making your way through the crowd and trying to fight your way to get to your car. I think Tony found you and drew you close to say something. What words did he impart on you, and what kind of calming effect did that have for you?
Well, he grabbed me first, and I was about ready to unleash on someone, so that happened first. But, he just said, block all this out. You go do it. It's your time now. Focus, and you'll do a great job. So, I'd love to be able to talk to somebody like Tony Stewart and just get the rundown on how it's going to go, but you have to experience it for yourself, and you have to for me, I also then have to have experiences to ask and figure out how to do them better next time. It's not so easy as to just kind of talk to Tony and get the scope of it. So, but he was. What he said was simple but calming, and it probably was what also drove me to, just as soon as the anthem was over with, to get in the car. People are trying to make decisions around me about, you going to do it or you're not going to do it, and I'm putting my earpieces in and head sock on. If you want a picture like that with my back to you, fine, but I'm getting in the car because it's time to work.
Let's go now to Holly Kane downstairs.
Holly Kane, NASCAR.com. Sorry, Dale, I have a question for Danica as well. Danica, I think when you won the pole, there was a little bit of, she won the pole, she has a fast car, but how is she going to race when it comes down to it? Do you feel like, in the bigger picture, what you were able to do today perhaps showed and won some respect from the Sprint Cup guys that you haven't raced a ton with quite yet?
I think that that's a question better to those guys, better to guys like Dale and everyone else that I was around all day. I feel like, they would be able to answer that question for you. But I think it was better to have run up in the top 10 all day today. Than the pole was wonderful, and Tony Gibson and those guys are the ones that should be really proud of that one, and I know they are. But today, being able to stay up front and get to the lead at one point and just run up in the top 10, for me, that was more of an accomplishment. The guy on my team, Jay, said, was joking around before qualifying. He said, "These 2 days are about us. Next week's about you." And he's joking around, but he's right. He's right. It's about the potential of the car, Hendrick engines and chassis. And having that pub for GoDaddy all week. I'd heard that it's like winning the 4th biggest race, qualifying on the pole for the Daytona 500, because there's a whole week of media. So that was for them, and today is a day that I can look at and be happy for certain things and learn from others.
We're going to take a couple more. We got, looks like Doug has one right here.
Doug Turnbull, WSB Radio in Atlanta. Danica, this is for you. A couple times on pit road with that first pit stall, it was tough getting out of the pits. I think there's maybe some wheel spin and a couple times getting past. Can you talk a little bit about the idiosyncrasies of pit road and adjusting to that for NASCAR?
I don't necessarily know how, first pit box is the one that you take when you are qualified on the pole. I mean, that's just what you do. So, but it was definitely different pulling out because everyone has momentum next to you, and so I mean, I think it's a benefit under yellow because you're just crossing the line. But after that, the momentum takes over. So, it was different. I mean, I definitely felt like I had a lot of wheel spin. So I don't know if that has to do with the fact that there's no rubber in front of me, really, being in that first pit stall or not. But I'm sure that there's a great reason why you always fall into that first pit stall. So it was nice to be there all day. It wasn't until the very end with the 9 that I had to worry about anyone pulling in the pit box behind me. So we earned that, and it's nice to have it.
Final question. The young lady back here over your right shoulder. We'll
And
take
I can't
her,
miss
and then
my pit box either. Can't miss
then
it.
we'll adjourn. Go ahead.
This one's for Dale. You came really close to second victory in the Daytona 500, and how would you feel if you managed to get that second one, given how long it took your dad to get one?
Yeah, it's like a drug, I assume it's such a high, and you just don't know when you'll ever get that opportunity again, or if you'll ever get that opportunity again. I knew before I won in 2004, I was reserved to the idea I may be, trying to win this race my entire career, because it seemed to, I knew all too well how that was for my father. So I felt so much relief when I did win it, and I'm ready to do it again. It's been too long, and running second over and over is great and all for our team and a good start to the season, but I would love to even have to go through all that hassle that Jimmy's about to go through this week. It's worth it. And just before I take off, I just wanted to say that I thought it was I noticed something this weekend, or last night actually, coming in and out of the track for dinner. Just seemed to be a different vibe inside the infield. People seemed more excited about what was getting ready to happen today. And even today, there just seemed to be a whole lot more people here. Seemed to be a whole lot more excitement about the race. That really was the biggest motivator for me today. I think that we're heading in a good direction. We may not be where we need to be to see it consistently each week, but I thought today, for some reason, it just felt like we're on the right track as a sport, and that's got me really excited. So I'm going to take off, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.
Thank you, Dale. Danica, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Great speed weeks. Dale.